I'm Patrick Lancaster, and we've got breaking news. War has broken out between Pakistan and Afghanistan. It is said this is some of the heaviest fighting in Afghanistan since 2001, when the Taliban took over, when Biden just had U.S. forces leave millions, if not billions, of U.S. military equipment just for the Taliban to take. Now, Taliban and Pakistani forces are in an armed conflict. What started as a border clash or border conflict has now reportedly developed into all-out warfare and heavy battles on several fronts along the border. There's even reports of both countries incurring on the other's territory and controlling territory. These are claims. We're going to dig through the information. We're not on the ground yet, but we're going to show you what we can of the information we can here, and as always, bring you a little bit of a perspective you might not get in other places. Let's get into it. This is a super important situation for the Middle East. Right now, I want you to go down, comment what you think about the situation and what it's going to develop into. Hit that like button, and also, of course, subscribe if you're not yet. But do all that right now to get the algorithm going so more people see this information. Might help them understand something they might not see in other areas. I just do my best to show you guys what I can. So let's get into it. As these heavy battles are reportedly taking place across the front, the Taliban forces are bringing reinforcements from the interior of Afghanistan to the border areas, the front areas. And we can see in this footage that these are the U.S. military equipment that the U.S. left there under Biden's orders in 2021. And these billions or millions of dollars of U.S. equipment that was left there, Humvees, MRAPs, small arms, and much more, are now fueling this conflict between Afghanistan and Pakistan. And the fighting is not just localized to one area. It's across many sectors, including Nangarhar, Tarkhan, Kuram, Waziristan, and more. And both sides are making big claims about who's been killed on the other side, what's been taken over. There's different footage coming out, but the numbers right now that are being reported is as follows. Afghanistan and the Taliban are claiming they've killed over 50. Right now, the number is at 58 Pakistani soldiers. They're saying they've killed and injured an additional 30 Pakistani soldiers and have taken over 25 Pakistani outposts or checkpoints. And on the other hand, Pakistan is not really claiming how many they've killed of the Taliban soldiers, but they're putting out information of how much they've lost themselves as far as soldiers goes and how many outposts they've captured of Taliban. Now, they've said they've captured 21 Taliban outposts and they have suffered 23 casualties as far as their soldiers go. And it is reported that at least 6 of these outposts have been confirmed taken control of and captured by Pakistani forces, and that's including the Top Sar observation post, as we can see here in this footage. It's being reported that Pakistani airstrikes have hit Kandahar and other border villages, and Taliban anti-air defenses are reportedly in action. This is including U.S.-made Stinger missiles being fired at Pakistani aircraft. Explosions are visible. Fighting is visible. We can see that here in this footage. And supposedly civilians from both sides are fleeing the border areas. And conflicting information is coming out from both governments. The Taliban, or Afghanistan foreign minister, has said that most Pakistanis want peace, but some are worsening ties. They said they've defended themselves and achieved their goals. This is something we hear in most conflicts when they try to calm things down. Everybody achieves their goals, supposedly.
Okay, I'm just going to quickly cut it out there. He's going to go on for another about like 15 more minutes or so. So if anyone wants to check that out, that's Patrick Lancaster. If you've never heard of him, his YouTube channel is just his name. He's a little bit, someone's saying this guy is definitely on some uppers for sure.
This guy's wired, man. He was giving me anxiety.
He does seem like he's reporting as if he's on the front lines, but he's indoors there on that particular clip. But I have seen other footage that he's done from the Donbass war where he is actually out with the soldiers on the front lines, literally risking his life. So I give him a bit of grace for that kind of strangeness. He might have probably a little bit of PTSD. I'd imagine I would if I tried to do something like that. So, how's it going, everybody?
What he's smoking.
Yeah. As long as they're not pills he's popping. You know?
Give me some of that too.
Yes. So, how you been, Abby, this past week?
I'm so tired. I'm tired. This train is kicking my butt.
Oh yeah, actually, could you mention? I think Abby let you guys know that she got a new job as a croupier, being a car dealer, but that means that we are gonna have to change our time slot. So we've been doing the Thursday at 6 p.m.
Well, actually, okay. I have new information. So that the class that I was going to go to in the afternoon, they told me to hold off on that class, hold off on that game because they wanted me to learn like the 5 specific games first to get on the floor, and then I can go learn that game. Okay. So we don't have to move for now. So that's good. So this works for us.
But it does sound like eventually you still got to get that training done, and then you're gonna get working the hours that you were telling me, Monday to Thursday or something.
I mean, we'll see, because we'll see.
Right. So we'll keep you posted or whatever. Keep an ear out. We'll let you know.
Jacqueline has a good memory. No, Jacqueline, that was another job that I did not end up working at. And everybody thinks that was this job is better for me. So
right.
I think so too.
I think so.
So I didn't get to watch anything that you sent me, so I'm going blind here, and I didn't hear about this conflict. I'm so behind on political news. It's a little scary.
It's actually hard to keep up, and that's kind of given normal circumstances. But in the last few years, things have really picked up pace as far as the development. Every new day, there are several interesting things that need to be talked about. So it kind of falls through the cracks.
And because I'm excuse me. I'm sorry, I'm so tired. And since I'm so busy right now, I don't really get a chance to watch the news or like go down the rabbit hole of articles and all that stuff. So I'm feeling a little inadequate.
No worries.
Politically inadequate. Especially
we'll get there.
I'll be a co-host of a political podcast.
It's all good. We'll have to finish our transitioning with our adjusting of our schedules and stuff. Things are a bit up in the air, and then hopefully we'll find the time to be able to deliver some better, well-produced content. I myself have been feeling some burnout these days, trying to keep everything going.
Yes.
That's Rondo. What do you think about LeBron?
Hold on.
What's up, Todd?
He said, "What's up?" Yeah.
What's up?
And hello, old man Barker.
I want to ask Rondo a question.
So, now I lost my thought.
So,
You can't just do that. I lost my thought. What were you saying?
I was just saying I'm also kind of starting to feel some burnout, struggling to keep up with the news cycle. And I find it's difficult to maybe like continue to developing what I feel is the most consistent understanding of the situation if other sources of it that I'm getting my information from, I find have maybe started to get a little bit repetitive and uncreative about their analysis kind of thing. And in a way that's kind of trapping us from being able to understand what's really going on if we're trying a little bit too hard to, be like I've been critical before about Western commies kind of being a little too much of a fanboy for China and stuff like that. Well, it seems like the necessary thing to do to counter the propaganda against China. But what it ends up doing is, if we're not critical of China when we should be, in a way, it makes our analysis poor and imprecise. So that's just one example.
Well, I mean, I feel like though, and hi, Omen Parker. I feel like nobody's talking about this topic, right? Everybody's like, it's Israel.
Getting trapped up in
It's
the
still
stuff I'm
Charlie
talking
Kirk.
about. You're caught in the
Yeah.
same narrative cycles. They want to talk about there's going to be the Israel-Iran thing's going to break out any day again now soon, which very well may be. But what they're doing by always making their shows about that, when it's not really a story that's developed to the point to talk about again yet, they're missing things that should be talked about maybe with a higher priority right now. Like Charlie Kirk thing was big when it happened, but now people are still talking about it, right? And that's what the psyops are for, is to get us chasing red herring. So
and the young Republicans, the kids that are like in their 30s, the kids, their chat, and it's like, okay, white people are being racist. Oh, all right, thanks. And in other news,
right,
like the grass is green. Like, thank you.
But they're just trying to give people their favorite punching bag.
Something else.
That often works, right? That's where it's sad to see how effective it is. People don't need new information. They're actually quite content most of the time to keep punching against that same old punching bag. I don't appreciate what AOC is up to, or Bernie Sanders either, or whatever, or Kamala Harris and all. But it seems to me like when you've run out of something meaningful to contribute to the next round of discussion, you tend to just kind of echo your criticisms to somebody to kind of maintain your fighter stance,
Mm-hmm.
So, but that's not exactly, we're a bit off track. We're kind of wanting to maybe get back on the topic of the day, which is this Afghan-Pakistan thing. To be calling it a war now is one of the strange things we have to try and figure out is there's been a lot of start and stop conflicts this year. It's what I feel like it should be maybe considered, we should call them fake wars. But I'm not sure about this Pakistan-Afghan. Like, this one seems like it's definitely been waiting to blow for a little while, and they may want to start and stop it for a few days, but I don't know if it feels to me like this one's going to have to keep going. Like, unlike the one in Cambodia and Thailand and India and Pakistan and Israel and Iran, those were all the fake conflicts that I'm talking about, and they have yet to re-emerge. But maybe they're all kind of waiting. What would happen maybe if some, like, Pakistan gets bogged down with Afghanistan and India was holding off with their ceasefire at the time? Wouldn't it seem opportune for them then to jump in? And then what would happen if that, like, who would feel the need to go to whose assistance? And is that the slippery slope into World War III? And so is that why people is it literally that are these statesmen that we, those ruling classes that we have so much love for, are they really so wise and mature that we should give them credit for holding back the tide of World War III that's about to crush us all. I don't think they're heroic enough to deserve that honor. So we got to see what Putin's doing now. I think it's hilarious. We got this big Russia, China is going to save the world kind of like Western commies don't have to do jack shit because we can't do jack shit anyway. So let's just watch the third world come to save our rescue, even though Russia's not really the third world, or whatever. But
I was about to say,
just saying, like there's this idea that, and China too. China's the third world, even though they're the more developed than the Americans now, or whatever, right? It's like, but what are they doing? Okay, this Palestine ceasefire thing that was just signed off on, that's China, whatever, not really pushing to actually intervene in the Gaza crisis to the point where this is the situation that you are left with, right? If they don't use their power, then the Americans are left to dominate the Middle East. And that apparently was what China was willing to concede for whatever they're going to gain in exchange. Same thing with Russia, okay? Russia's now meeting with Jolani. He's having Jolani come to Moscow and shaking his hand. And we're supposed to be all the resistance, right? We're Jolani's a piece of shit, whatever. We can't fucking support whatever. We gotta support the Assad regime or whatever, which Putin supported as well. So Putin can shake hands with who he wants without being a hypocrite. But if we speak out against people for not being ideologically whatever consistent, then we're a bunch of people who don't know what the fuck we're talking about, right? Like they can act like we're big kind of like gangsters as they want, but if we say that they're kind of betraying the principles as revolutionaries or whatever, we're just brain dead politics, right? We don't know what we're talking about. So I'm a little upset with some of these older, whatever, seasoned analysts who've been at it for a long time who don't seem to have figured out that the game has changed, right?
I could tell you're a little upset.
Oh, I'm real fucking. But it's also one of those the personal shit that you go through that makes it hard for me to keep that whatever. Like it's your personal problems. Like I had a court today. Was what I'm trying. I'm just saying like personal emotion. Like I'm saying like I had a child custody court thing today, which is leaving me in a very bad mood because it's been dragging on forever. And it's not exactly the greatest of developments in the last few weeks. I haven't told you guys because everyone's trying to say, right, you gotta, for legal advice, you shouldn't be blabbing about certain stuff. But then it leaves me having to not be able to communicate things that I need to maybe talk about with people who I can trust or whatever. But I can't trust you guys because I can't trust the platform that we're on. So it's like always something to fucking put you in a bad mood. You got to do your best to carry on, but then how much of you just ignoring the things you need to face because you can't face them without being fucking dragged, character assassinated, whatever, for dealing with something. So
I just learned stress can be a factor in causing diabetes. So that's just
just one of them
caveats.
Things. Yeah.
To
Stress can also rob you of your sleep, you know. Rob, I was so stressed today that I couldn't eat properly. You ever been that mad? That sad? That sad? Yeah.
That you lose your appetite?
Yeah.
Aww.
So, but that's okay.
I'm sorry. We'll talk about it though. I'll be your earpiece later.
Well,
no worries.
Fuck the law, or whatever. You know, we got to have a legal resolution. I can't really watch this genocide shit happening. Oh, let's lobby the International Court of Justice. That they'll get them. They'll take care of it. Every fucking time I have ever had to rely on a lawyer for something, they have failed me, and they keep getting paid more and more for it. And people keep recommending that we take the legal path for resolution when it never works. What is that thing about insanity being the repetition of past behaviors? Just saying, right? The shoe fits on more than just my foot. So.
Yeah. I did not know that starvation could be a factor in causing diabetes.
Yeah. So this
and I brought that up about the diabetes because of the conflict, because a lot of people who are coming up with diabetes.
Yeah, well, people just think about like, oh, there could never be such thing as a fat person in a war zone, wherever that person obviously is a bad person or something. Or it's like you're just not understanding anything. Right? Like
How
people can get fat
biology works.
before bad times and then go through hard times, and the weight doesn't magically disappear when it's been on your body for like 30 years, right? People just decide to have brain dead takes because it's funny, you know what I mean, instead of being accurate. So.
Mm. Yep. Yep. Okay,
Now,
so you want me to play this other video or?
Sure. Which
I don't know which.
So there's, since I mentioned the Putin thing, we might as well start with that.
I figured.
Play the Syriana video, Syriana analysis. It's kind of like not the first point I was intending to make. It's just kind of what was top of mind, I guess. Because that will if we're making this point, we're going to have to tie in the rest of what the show is supposed to be about really into this, because this is more of just like a suspicion of me, because I was doing a whole bunch of research about this, and I mostly want to talk just about Pakistan and Afghanistan and like the backgrounds of those countries and whatnot. And Putin is not really the subject of discussion today, but then I saw that in my research that he had a meeting in Tajikistan across the border from Afghanistan right as this is breaking out, and he met with with Trump in Alaska and whatever not so long ago, meeting with Romani. There's a lot of things that happen behind these closed doors. Everyone's like, oh, maybe they're talking about making world peace, but what they're most likely doing is dividing the world up between like the pie of the world and making concessions like, okay, you guys can have this bullshit ceasefire in Gaza because Russia doesn't have much influence in the Middle East anyways. And I know that you guys ain't going to do shit about what I'm up to in Ukraine or whatever, so you can give me some kind of concession on that, whatever. Who knows what the fuck, okay? But to keep treating these people like they're our saviors, whatever, and that we're fucking helping the imperialists by being critical of them because like the main contradiction is the American empire. My problem is that if the American empire is actually weak and ready to be toppled and they're not pushing when it's time to push, that's maybe a sign that they're more in collaboration with the person they're supposed to be trying to take down, and that the narrative that the American dollar is going to collapse anytime soon or whatever is more of a narrative than anything if China's not going to actually do the things it needs to really push hard when push comes to shove, you know? They're doing it on the trade front, but that's it. And anyone knows anything about America, you can't fight them only on the trade front, whatever. You have to defeat them on the battlefield, I'm pretty sure. But maybe I'm biased about that, whatever, being grown up in the West. You know, I have that imperial mindset about how to deal with foreign policy or something. But nobody's challenging America, and they're fucking dominating. Sorry, go ahead.
It's okay. That whole ceasefire thing was complete bullshit anyway, because, well, first of all, there's hardly anything there now. So, oh, great, now there's a ceasefire. Well, you pretty much did everything you were trying to do. Pretty much toppled the area, and now there's reports that Netanyahu has cut the food in half that was going in there. He even cut that in half. So just because they're not dropping bombs, they're still starving people to death.
Yeah, it's like, which way is more? Would pick your poison, or which way would you rather go? You know what I mean? I think I know which one I would rather go with.
Right. So this whole the peace president, I mean, that is just fucking laughable. Which one do you want me to play? The Jelani one or the Russian strategy?
Why don't you play the video called "The Collapse of Russia's Strategy in the Middle East" by Syriana Analysis, and then the other one I think is just a quick. We could follow up. It's just 2 minutes, just showing the handshaking literally taking place. It's not exactly important. So.
Okay.
So Jolani visited Moscow, and he met with President Putin. I will explain to you why this is a big L for Russia and why politics doesn't have to be a bitch like this one. Of course, Russia intervened in Syria not out of love for Assad or his regime, but intervened for the sake of protecting its interests in the Middle East, especially on the Mediterranean, knowing that Syria has given Russia a port and access to the Mediterranean, and through the Mediterranean and the Black Sea, Russia was able to establish itself as a quite strong naval power, right? Now, that was not the only reason, of course. One of the reasons was that if Syria falls in the hands of the Takfiri Islamist terrorists, the ones of Jolani, then these Takfiris will be emboldened not only in the Middle East, but also they will have an access into Central Asia, something that Turkey has been trying to do in order to destabilize Central Asia, in order to project the NATO might in Central Asia for the benefit of the US empire, of course. Let's remember that Turkey is the largest army in NATO, and despite all the verbal clashes, let's say, with Western politicians, Turkey is a very good ally for the United States, and it has proven to be a very good ally as well to Israel after the October 7 by supplying Israel of most of its needs, of energy, of iron, of many things that could be used in the military operations against the Palestinians. And now Erdogan has also sponsored this so-called peace deal of Trump and established itself as a strong player. So by Moscow leaving the Syrian scene like this to Turkey, to Israel, and to the rest, it has already destroyed all its investment of the past 11, 12 years in Syria, something that has cost them billions and also cost them lots of lives. Russian soldiers died on the battlefield against the same terrorists that now rule and govern Syria. Another important aspect in this is something more reputational, right? If Russia and China cannot protect their allies with whom they have established strategic relationship, then why would under a multipolar world, any of these countries, any of these rising economies and states in the global south align themselves with Russia or
Maybe
with China?
politics
If
here.
Why
I
is
think,
he? Why is he under the impression that Russia and China can't defend it? Can't
well,
help
it's
defend
not
their
that
allies?
they can't defend their allies. It's that they have chosen not to at this point. I think it
Oh,
needs to be a
okay.
very said out
I was like,
loud. Like, historically, in the last few years, whatever situation with like, there were many times where there should have been more of a hardline intervention if you're actually going to save your allies from death. So Hamas, Hezbollah, Syria, a lot of people in Iran were all murdered, however you want to term it, because of inaction from stronger powers that had they had solidarity when it mattered, then things would have gone very differently. But it would have been it would have been an escalation. It would have been something like the shutting of the Strait of Hormuz, and people all over the world would have felt it. But I would have preferred all of us to suffer economic hardship so that the genocide could stop. I think that that's the lesser of two evils. I think a lot of people around the world have made the selfish choice. I don't want to have a hard time for the next couple years financially, because the alternative, whatever, would be saving those people. And that's disgusting. So if you want to stop the American empire, it takes some serious fucking shit. It's not going to be whatever, a cakewalk. So if this is what you want, whatever, then you got to figure out what's the price. Okay. So But what I wanted to mention to posit here is I think that what he's saying is like the big question to kind of ask people on the left or in the resistance movements around the world. Okay, this thing about the multipolarity on the horizon. What he's saying is, if the big players aren't willing to stand with the little players that have chosen to ally with them, what are you calling multipolarity? What multipolarity is that? That's no such thing, because you're only allowing the same typical 5 powers that dominate the Security Council at the UN to have all the say around the entire world. And that's not what we call multipolarity. That's just more of the same neoliberal,
Same shit. Yes.
neoconservative capitalist bullshit, imperialism. That's all it is. You can call it multipolarity all you want, but unless you actually see, like, and the thing about all these like revolutionary governments around the world, upholding the tradition, whatever. When are we going to see some power for the working class? When are you going to see, actual class struggle, like taking away from like the control of the means of production in the hands of the people? If you don't start to see that in any of the countries that claim to be socialist, we have gone wrong somewhere badly as an entire movement. And I guess I'm not qualified to say that because I'm not part of a party or something like that.
Well,
even though I
interesting that
starting a party, but I find we can't fucking agree on what party to go with. We still got people. I'm gonna go after everyone tonight, I guess. I'm watching the homeless left or whatever. He's advocating supporting Larry Sharp's Libertarian Party. I don't think you're homeless or the left if you're advocating for libertarians, right? But what the fuck? I guess nobody knows what to fucking do. So let's do nothing, right? We got to figure our shit out. We got to get it done yesterday.
I like what, because Sean, I was thinking this when he was talking. I was like, I'm really struggling with like, what is the long game? What is the long game here? What is the strategy? And so anyway, I thought that was interesting. You were thinking the same thing.
Yeah, I see.
But
Cobra is saying Kevork's a refugee from Syria who now lives in Germany. He 90% of his takes and his criticism of Russia keeps him away from ACP. Not entirely though. Yeah, I like most of what I hear from him. There's only one thing that gives me a little bit of suspicion about him is I've heard that he's had some associations with the German AfD party, which is to a lot of people considered a far right party associating with the neo-Nazis in Germany kind of thing nowadays. So that's definitely a bit of a concern to see that that's the kind of people he may have dealt with in the past. I'm not sure if that's what his affiliations are now, but then considering the situation in Syria, that's what I'm trying to say about we got to understand what the cost is. It's very difficult to understand how to actually get something done. Well, who you're going to have to work with to get something done. And we don't want to make red-brown alliances and work with fascists. But there's not so many leftists that are actually trying to do anything hard and hard line enough to actually matter. And then what does that mean? That means you're left with these fucking people who will betray us because they may be right wing, but they sound like they're anti-imperialist. So then you end up working with who you have to, which is the person who's going to betray you, which is what's happening basically on the big geopolitical scene with China and Russia. They're working with who they have to, Saudi Arabia and Pakistan and India, whatever. And then what did you expect to happen when they fuck up your plans? Because they see themselves as not really being central enough in Russia's and China's plans for their own nations, whatever. How does Pakistan benefit from this Belt and Road Initiative in the same way that China does? It just keeps China on top of everybody at the end of the day.
Saudi Arabia, they have their big toe and everything, like the big toe and BRICS, like a friendship with BRICS. But then they have this weird friendship with America, and which is strange because Netanyahu kind of talks about pushing his way all the way into Africa. Okay, well you gotta get through Saudi Arabia to get there, so it's very confusing.
Yeah. And Saudi Arabia is a big part of what, and Qatar too, about these start-stop conflicts here. So who was it that apparently was important in getting them to ceasefire with India and Pakistan and with Saudi Arabia. Same thing with Iran and Israel, Saudi Arabia, and then Afghanistan and Pakistan. So what does that mean? What is that? Saudi Arabia has the ability to dictate has their sovereignty at the end of the day. They don't have the sovereign power to go to war when they feel like it's necessary, because economically or whatever, Saudi Arabia or whatever, I don't know what it has on these people, kind of blackmail. But every single time they want to do something, like if you take Pakistan's narrative at face value, what they need to do here for this conflict is about deterrence. If you've lost deterrence, you have to reestablish it. Every person who's a nationalist basically believes that is a legitimate policy for a nation to hold. That they have if the sovereignty that they have to protect, then they have the right to policy of deterrence and whatever, enact it regardless of what other nations' criticisms are, right? So then they're saying Afghanistan has these terrorists right next door that they're harboring, the Pakistan Taliban, and their aim is to overthrow the government in Pakistan, and then they're saying that the Taliban are not doing enough to hold these terrorists accountable. And this is where we really have to, like, there's so many contradictions that everything is built on in order for us to never come to a resolution. Because are we just going to ignore the fact that you can call a terrorist whatever? Anyone can be called a terrorist because there's no accepted international legal definition, which is important if you want to actually hold terrorists accountable. You don't have a legal definition to do that. Then what the fuck are you even calling anyone a terrorist for? It's not about legal reasons. It's just about fucking propaganda and dehumanization, so that you can take whatever struggle from whatever nation and call it terrorism, even though the Afghans also have their national sovereignty to protect, and there's only so many things that they can do when they're cut off from the world market for however long. The UN is so paralyzed and useless that they're going to let the Americans strangle the Afghanistan economy after putting them in a war for 20 years, and then they pull out, and then they can still keep them from having access to the world market. What does that mean? That means that the Afghans need American dollars that come from Pakistan. So why is this conflict happening? Because Pakistan has an economic crisis that kind of has to do a lot with a lot of their money being siphoned through the black market into Afghanistan, because that's what makes money for bourgeois fucking assholes who don't give a shit about their nation, who will pretend to be nationalists all day long as they make some motherfucking money.
I know that's right. I wanted to go back to this comment. This is kind of off the topic now that we kept talking, but I didn't want to lose this comment on Cobra. I just thought it was interesting. So he's saying homeless left is a libertarian, but he's slowly coming to the side of a Marxist. So it just made me think about like how he wanted to join the Libertarian Party, and I'm like, so is this a squad thing where you're thinking you're going to change something from within? Like, you can't do that. It doesn't work. I just thought that was interesting.
Right, but then when we're talking about it doesn't work to change the reformism, whatever, the electoralism doesn't work, but we're not in any way physically prepared. We're not prepared. We're not disciplined enough we're not militant enough for the alternative that would work, but it's an uphill battle for years, and people just don't have the wherewithal for that. It's that thing about, Westerners are a little bit too soft, and that is the case. But we're being continuously weakened by all of this corruption, this corrupt society, or whatever, all this drug, sex, money, all that, right? And people they understand how bad it is. Like the homeless left guy, he's slowly coming to the Marxist. He's got a good Marxist like critique of capitalism, but then it's that growing up with all that anti-communism or whatever makes it hard to. You're not allowed to really be too pro-communist or whatever, because that's too radical, too third rail, and so people want to go this libertarian route instead because it seems more safer.
Republican list steps, if you ask me. So Sean says the problem is that things will have to get way worse before people drop their ideologies for solidarity.
Right.
But I don't think there is any solidarity here because, okay, so the farmers, for example, they're talking about the Purple Revolution. Who is uniting with who? Who? Black people are not going to unite with them.
You saying the farmers are talking about a purple revolution?
Yeah, they're talking about we need to have a purple revolution.
What do they mean by that? Like
They're talking
like
about
red
like
versus blue need to
red,
set
red
aside
and
their
blue come
difference.
together, set aside their differences, and I'm like, oh, okay, because you're broke now. Well, they're not broke, but
That's
because
them
you're hurting,
fundamentally
now you want to come together.
They fundamentally misunderstand that the red versus blue is a false narrative that's meant to be perpetuated. They're never meant to come together. They're just meant to be this constant opposition. It's supposed to be dynamic, but there's no dynamism there. Like, it doesn't drive anything forward. It just keeps us trapped in this vicious, non-productive cycle.
Right.
So that's the worst thing.
It's
and then to advocate for this purple revolution, where that's literally advocating for the worst possible course of action.
Exactly. It's like I'm in like, yes, Mousy, about his comment. My thing is though, what was I about to say? Gosh, I just lost my thought. Oh, instead of talking about a purple revolution, we should be talking about what's going on, what happened in Nepal. Like, we should be watching and paying attention and seeing how that evolves and taking notes. You know what I mean? But no one's even talking about Nepal.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, maybe some people
trying to do last week, trying to connect the dots with the other revolutions, with like Madagascar and Kenya. Like, there weren't full-on revolutions. They were seemed like mostly color revolutions in a way, but something's happening with the people either way. If they're being corralled into a color revolution, there is still that fundamental problem with the material conditions driving them to a more like a revolutionary solution. But because the propaganda has been so effective globally speaking, a lot of people focus on how propagandized Americans are, but from what I can tell, the people around the world are not informed well enough to be able to understand who their enemy is, and so they're being led by like the sheepdogs, by the US, what used to be the USAID, NED kind of whatever influencers. Now we have to figure out what the new name is, but there is certainly, and if we can't connect the dots, we're not going to understand what's going on. But if we can, then we'll really be able to understand how to counter what's happening, because like we have to figure out which people are revolting for the right reasons or whatever, and look at the leaders that they pick kind of afterwards to see if they've been swindled, you know. Like in Nepal, I think this leader that was chosen is an example that was, especially we see what happened with Nepal, and now we see what's happening right next door, Afghanistan and Pakistan, whatever. Everything that's happening in that region right now has everything to do with this Belt and Road Initiative, de-dollarization initiative. And so we should maybe get into some of the sources a little bit more rather than just speaking off the top of our heads, whatever. But
look, when tongue tied. Remember when we were trying to figure out the topic? So Mousy says, terrorism also used as an excuse to bypass legal norms. It's a total Orwell fiction. So Mousy, the topic that I wanted to talk about was Orwell. So I just found that interesting that you said that. So maybe we should talk about that next time.
And as far as his other comment, the first one, I agree, generally speaking, but I also am a little bit like I have a misgiving about the idea that communism's victory is inevitable, was basically what he was getting at. Like it's inevitable that communism will emerge out of capitalism. That feels to me like a little too much. We don't have to do anything. We could just sit back and watch like do nothing and win. And if that's the case, that would be great. But for me, doing nothing is not winning right now. That the less I do, the worse things get. Doesn't seem to be the right strategy to me. But I agree in theory. The contradictions of capitalism should have gotten to such a point that the people just naturally broke from it. But then we're seeing these with the cryptocurrency, whatever, the evolution of technology and everything. Some of the theory may be a little bit too based in the 19th century, because there's the problem now. The bubbles will pop, and they're like digitally, they can like literally reinflate the bubble within 24, 48 hours. And like they can mobilize, because the way that they artificially create value through the fiat system, that just gets way worse with cryptocurrency. And they know that, but they're not trying to fix things in a rational sense, whatever. They're trying to fix things like rig it permanently, the market, right?
Yeah, they're trying to make crypto like the new Wall Street. They're trying to redefine what it was designed for. And Wall Street, that bubble's gonna burst pretty soon. If you look at the trajectory, it's like going up like it's too acute.
Yeah.
So where all the buybacks and all that stuff, like it looks the same way it looked in 2008. So there's nowhere to go from there but
right. But the people have demonstrated that it does not matter.
This purple charger, you can move it wherever you want.
Like in theory, it has the stock market and everything has to be has to at some point be grounded in the actual real economy. There has to be some kind of connection, whatever, no matter how small, whatever. They can't get so detached from reality like they have been in theory, we think, right? But it seems like the people have proven that they're not paying enough attention, so that when the stock market does get into extremely illegal activity and the people are supposed to get infuriated and make it crash, they're not doing that. So then they can quickly just change the charts, reinvent some fake statistics and then tell everyone everything's fine again. And because it's all based on faith now, it really has nothing to do with fundamentals economically anymore, because things have gotten so divorced from reality. When people try to explain the economic situation, nobody understands it. So they just don't know how to get back to square one. They don't, we've lost square one so long ago, we don't even know where it is anymore.
We're getting way away from
yeah.
I want to one more person. Okay, I thought this was interesting. Old man Barker says libertarian socialism is ideal. I thought that was, at first I was like, wait, what? But so the ideology of libertarianism minus the capitalism part of it. I mean, I'm gonna have to think about that a little more, because
there is a big problem with idealism these days. Because all the stuff with quantum mechanics and everything seems to have kind of pulled the rug out for the materialists. Like before, the materialist explanation for scientific reality was the most robust, but now the more that people start to do the quantum mechanics and stuff, that theory isn't exactly as well supported as it sounds like a lot of the experiments that they're doing and stuff. But it seems well complicated and well enough studied that we can take some of the conclusions that they're making about reality more seriously. And some of that is, I think, reinforcing the idealist worldview, which is much more irrational, doesn't have to be properly proven, materially speaking. We can kind of just say it's mysterious and can't really be scientifically observed, but we can still believe in it. It's we got to talk about quantum mechanics one day, because it's this new thing, hocus pocus, that people believe in because it's too hard to understand.
Cooper says, what the fuck is a purple revolution? Some bullshit. That's what it is.
Yeah.
A purple revolution, and what are we gonna do? Set up the same system just with new people? What are we supposed to establish after that?
Yeah, that's probably a good point.
I can't read that. Can you read that? I can't see it.
Sean's saying libertarian was hijacked by the right. It originally was a true lefty idea. Then the small government idea got added. I think that's true historically speaking. But then the thing about like the history only has so much value to add to the present in a way. So where do you go from there if that libertarianism's no longer left? Is it redeemable or should it be abandoned? And we need to resolve that question sooner rather than later. So
I'm definitely going to put more thought into libertarian socialism. I just want to explore that a little more for myself.
yeah, well,
Sounds interesting.
Sean's saying quantum mechanics. Is that what you said? Yeah, I'm saying when you get into it, the indeterminacy of quantum mechanics makes it so that it kind of validates and reinforces
Oop, you're cutting out.
Sorry, I'm trying to figure out my wording anyway, whatever. I'm not wasn't exactly planning on talking about this, whatever, but
right.
like it's just maybe I should talk about this when I've had more time to iron out. Otherwise, I'm just kind of gonna wing it and probably say something full of shit, whatever. But what I'm trying to say is like the particles are like indeterminate was what I was saying. Like there's no, it could be this way or that way, or whatever. It's not like super determined necessarily, whatever, right? So when you try and get down to what's underneath everything, we're not finding like a final particle that shows that's the smallest particle, or whatever. It seems like there is no there at the end of the day. You just end up with like nothing, right? Which is like the idealism stuff is like the matter is secondary to mind, right? So I may be thinking that quantum mechanics kind of reinforce the idea that mind is above matter as opposed to the other way around. Because like the communist typical, the original Marxist kind of worldview is that the mind kind of comes from the matter, not the other way around.
Well, this is interesting. I did not know my brother considers himself a libertarian.
Okay.
I did not even know that. And we talk about politics enough.
Right. I think it's got a
but
lot
we
of
never really talk about, parties. Just things that are going on. So that's interesting.
But in that idealist sense, whatever, the appeal to libertarianism is freedom. Who doesn't like freedom, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then when you get into the really nitty gritty about why is freedom difficult for us all to have, then you understand maybe why libertarianism doesn't actually work at the end of the day. It's fine if it works on paper, but it has to work in reality. And that's the same criticism people have of communism. And we have not made it happen in reality. So if it works on paper and it works, then we are hoisted by our own petard, you might say.
Well, has it never worked in reality, or is it?
People are saying it's working in China, right? When they did all these things that are debatable and controversial to make it work, right? I'm saying, can China's success continue without America? That's maybe one of my questions nowadays. Because if they're going to make the break and prove that their path to communism will happen, they will have to leave America behind at some point. Or they're going to keep this whatever imperial beast or whatever on a leash long enough to be rehabilitated and they can finally let it off or whatever and be a beast of burden for the revolution. Okay.
Should we get back to him?
Yeah.
The topic at hand, boys and girls.
I'm having a bad day. I'm a little bit all over the place. My bad.
I'll back up a little bit so we can.
Yeah.
So basically, where we stopped was he was talking about how Russia and China are not supporting their allies as best as they could. But anyway.
Right. Well, I agree on that.
These rising economies and states in the global south align themselves with Russia or with China. If
And with China.
Russia and China cannot protect them against the American imperialism. And not only that, they would shake hands now with the guy who came thanks to the American sponsorship in order to establish a Middle East that is completely obedient to the US and Israel. Then we have to ask the question, what is the benefit of aligning or establishing a strategic relationship with these countries, Russia and China, if they are incapable or unwilling to protect their allies? And in this case, we are not asking for direct military intervention from the Russian side. They have already done that, but they were capable of empowering the position of Syria in the past 10 years militarily and economically in order for Syria to stand on its feet when the US has imposed draconian sanctions on the Syrian people. Now, Russia and also Iran, by the way, they have pressed Syria immensely to accept certain diplomatic deals, one of which was the Astana Accords under the patronage of Turkey, Russia, and Iran. And this has given Jolani's people the time and the safe space in Idlib to regroup, to rearm, to retrain, and come back on an offensive against Aleppo. And this...
Okay, I mean, that's kind of what happened in the Ukraine, right? We just gave them enough time to regroup and prepare so they can go to war with Russia. So this is very interesting.
It was a surprise attack by them, which shocked and surprised the Russians, the Syrians, and everyone. And the Russians found themselves in a position that they are unable now to turn the tide again without a big military buildup and preparation for months probably to push them again outside of Aleppo, and this will lead into the probably complete destruction of the city and a lot of other issues, right? And they're already involved heavily in the Ukraine war, and they don't want to do that now during this time. I understand the logic behind it, but what I don't understand is why would Russia press Syria to accept these deals and freeze the conflict in Idlib and then allow Jolani to wage his offensive against Aleppo and then occupy Damascus and the entirety of Syria, right? It was the trust in Turkey, it was the trust in the US that they are genuine in their diplomatic approach, which led to this situation in Syria again. And they have betrayed not only Russia, they have betrayed everyone involved in this deal. And they told Russia at the last moment that it is game over and we will preserve your the Navy in the Mediterranean. But rest assured, that is also a tactical move.
I'm sorry, I thought you were talking to somebody on the phone or something.
Oh, no, I got my fan going. I got my smoke going. Sorry. I was just gonna say, when he's talking about, it seems like Russia was trusting Turkey and the U.S. whatever. What I appreciate about when I'm looking into the Pakistan-Afghan thing, what Siriana Kavork Amassian here reminded me about is like Turkey's influence in the situation. We try to talk about the neo-Ottomanism, the new Ottoman Empire that Turkey's dreams are, basically. So when we're looking at Afghanistan and we're thinking about Turkey's influence, we should try and remember the Uyghurs. Remember the narrative about the Uyghurs in China?
Yes.
That they want to create a new Turkic whatever state in Western China or whatever and separate. And so who do you think would be benefiting from that if that were to actually happen? That would be Turkey, right? That they're ideological brothers with the Uyghurs. And then you want to look into Syria and how these things are definitely interconnected. One of the things that I forgot to call up the source. Maybe I'll go looking for it and I'll put it in the Discord or something. But there are Uyghurs that have been placed in the new Syrian regime working for Jolani that fought to overthrow the Assad regime. So now there are
Uyghurs in high places in the new Syrian regime, and with all these different geopolitical things happening, right? So Syria is right next to Saudi Arabia, okay? Saudi Arabia is intervening with Afghanistan. So a lot of these parts I don't quite understand, but I'm starting to see some things some patterns emerging, right? Another thing that would be driving the conflict is forced deportation. So in the states, we have a lot of media discussions about deporting people across the border, how bad that is. But then we're not talking about how the other countries' deportations or whatever. One of the things that's making this conflict happen now in Afghanistan is because Iran and Pakistan deported like millions of people after the Israel-Iran war. Like the Iranians were suspicious that a lot of these Afghani refugees are betraying us to the Israelis. So we got to deport millions of them. That's a humanitarian catastrophe. And if the Americans were doing that, we would be like fucking halfway up their ass or whatever, coming out of their mouth, right? Like saying that's unacceptable for you to do that to people, because it's not acceptable, right? But they're the little people. They're the lumpen, whatever, not even proletariat, because they're just mouths to feed. And they could be dangerous because they're desperate, right? So we might as well get rid of them. So we have to not be hypocritical about some things. Or no one will believe our revolutionary rhetoric if we're willing to just be more real politic about shit at the end of the day. That would make us neoconservatives at the end of the day, I think. Anyway.
This is heavy.
Yeah. Sorry, that's the topic for war is heavy. And it's like, this is no peace president, you know what I mean?
Okay, I'm gonna go back a little bit.
And we will preserve your the Navy in the Mediterranean. But rest assured, that is also a tactical move by Erdogan and by Jolani. And sooner or later, in a year, 2, 3, 4, 5, this is a long game. They will try to kick the Russian Navy outside of the Mediterranean, and Russia will become again a regional power. Without a navy in the Mediterranean, the Russians will not be able to exert and project their hegemony if they want to play an international, if they want to become a superpower. They will also need a sea power, not only land power, something that they were missing during Cold War. And we thought that the Russians have learned from this, the Russian establishment. Well, what can I say about it? They will not only betray Russia in the Mediterranean, what the Erdogan will do.
Bye, driving me Macy. I hope you enjoy your week. Okay. So what the Russians will do?
Establishment. Well, what can I say about it? They will not only betray Russia in the Mediterranean, what the Erdogan will do, he will project the neo-Ottoman Turkic might through the Middle East, through Zangezur corridor in southern Caucasus into the Central Asian countries, and they will try to gain momentum and more influence there for the benefit of the NATO countries. And Russia, sooner or later, will pay a huge, huge price for this unbelievable diplomatic miscalculation and military miscalculation. I'm not blaming them by themselves, like they're not the only one to be blamed. The first and the foremost one to be blamed is the former Syrian regime. But of course, the Russian role here was not helpful when they trusted the Turks, Erdogan, and they forced the conflict in Idlib and allowed Jolani to regroup, rearm, and wage an offensive, which turned the tide completely upside down. And now we live in a Middle East where the entire region is completely dominated by the United States, an exception for Iran. And if the Russians do not get what they want in Ukraine, then imagine what would be the situation for them, not only regionally in Eurasia or in East Europe, but globally. So a big L for Russia. Politics doesn't have to be a bitch, as I mentioned. There has to be certain manners and certain ethics, and there has to be also trust at the end of the alliance that when your ally needs, especially weapons and political cover, you probably have to give them that. Otherwise, the friends that you're trying, the countries and the politicians that you are so desperate to befriend them, such as Erdogan, who has a track record of betraying his partners, I think this is going to be the consequence of it. We, the Syrian people, have paid the price. Russia will pay the price. And notice how nobody speaks about this important thing as well, and that is Jolani visits Moscow and he shakes hands with Putin, and Putin doesn't say a word about elections in Syria. But he said that repeatedly about Ukraine, about Zelensky, that he doesn't have a mandate and he's a dictator and he didn't organize elections. So when was the last time Jolani held the elections? Which elections in Syria? Who gave him the popular legitimacy to rule and speak in our name as Syrian people?
I can hear you now. You wanted me to pause it?
Yeah, I'm not sure how much longer the video is, but
It is 2 minutes, 2 more minutes.
Okay, we might as well finish it off.
Did you want to say something about it?
No, I just needed to make sure that my mic was still working,
Okay.
and then if not, I had time to make sure to go fix it, whatever. But
okay.
Which elections in Syria? Who gave him the popular legitimacy to rule and speak in our name as Syrian people? This is number one, right? I think there's so many things to say about this case. I think this is going to end up really badly. And we had more hopes from rising powers to speak and defend the people who were targeted by the empire, the Palestinians, the Syrians. And in this case, I think there is now a big lesson for everybody to learn in the region, that in order to preserve your country and your nation, you really have to do it by yourself, not depending on anyone, rising power, declining power, superpower. You really have to build a national economy and a national army and protect yourself. Don't depend on anyone.
what he's talking about there is
outside
autarky.
forces. When the circumstances change, you will.
He's talking about what?
He's talking about autarky there. He's saying a nation must have some, seems to me, what he's arguing, all nations need a large degree of autarky, which is like that self-reliance on economy and military and everything that is capable of sustaining itself. The problem is that nobody at the end of the day really could be self-reliant. That's something that the largest of nations are most capable of. But the global economy is interconnected, more now so than ever before. And so it is something of an idealist thing to strive for complete autarky. But it's not completely idealist. There's some material basis for...
there's some material you would need from other places. So you can't have a...
But there is a material argument that makes sense to say that we do want to have some autonomy, some self-control.
But there are things you could do, like, for example, when we talked about Venezuela and how, because they relied so heavily, their agriculture relied so heavily on imports, that was a way for them to get squeezed when they won't, do what they're told to do.
Right.
And if they would have just had a better, farming system there, they would have had more leverage.
Yeah.
So there's things that you could do, even though there are things that you might need from other countries, right?
but there's limitations that all nations have based on their geography. So no matter how much you can improve your own agricultural system, there's an ultimate limit to that. That's just grounded in the ecology that you have to work with.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'm going to. He's almost done.
Find yourself outside the game. Final note, Jolani is still committing heinous crimes against Syria's ethnic and religious minorities. Every single day somebody is being kidnapped, somebody is being killed for, and especially women in the Alawite community, the Christian community, the Kurds, the Druze. So I truly hope that Russian officials would ask Jolani the bare minimum, and that is to stop these organized and systematic attacks against the Syria's religious and ethnic minorities. I hope that would be the bare minimum, and that would have been discussed during this meeting, and not only politics and business as usual, because, as I said, politics doesn't have to be a bitch.
And I appreciate that sentiment too.
Wish. Yeah.
Coming around to that, I think I was saying that to you last week or something, that we need to try and have a reconceptualization of the politician in a way, because we've become so cynical and nihilistic about politics in general. But that, at the end of the day, just reinforces the vicious cycle.
Oops.
Oh, I was like, what happened?
Sorry about that.
That's okay. I'm still here though. So,
Jeremy looks beautiful in the fall. I don't know where he is.
What's that?
Oh, the trees. Germany looks beautiful in the fall.
Oh yeah. I don't know if he's still in Germany or what, but I would imagine he's probably not back in Syria, because it's very dangerous for someone who used to be a supporter of the Assad regime. So I hope that one day he may be able to return to his country safely. That's another thing I was going to mention about the Uyghurs and China's and stuff, is one of the things that we should be encouraging that will be a positive trend for international cooperation would be creating conditions necessary for the voluntary return of refugees, which is not about forcible deportation. And then we shouldn't try and vilify people who are trying to do that. So one of the things that about the Uyghur narrative is that China is trying to repatriate a lot of these Uyghurs without punishing them for whatever past ideological alignments. If they are willing to obey the laws of China and whatnot and be cooperative, then they're allowed to come back. In a way, it seems like they're creating incentives for them to reintegrate peacefully into society. Nothing that we should have a problem with. But the Americans, they have some kind of game they want to play with the Uyghurs. They need to take a situation like, there was a story about some 40 Uyghurs being deported from Thailand recently that have been detained for 10 years in Thailand, and it's apparently better because they're damned if they do and damned if they don't, right? They can't send them somewhere else without being criticized for human trafficking somebody to a different nation that they don't even belong to, kind of thing, or send them back to the country they came from where they might be persecuted or whatever. But so that's where China's been. The notable exception is China's not really a country that's been accepting massive amounts of refugees. So you look at how did Iran and Pakistan end up with all those refugees, and how did Turkey end up with all those Syrian refugees? They allowed them in a sense, because they felt that it was necessary, or they were pressured to do so. China has never really had that policy. When it comes to massive hordes of immigrants storming across the border, they're like, fuck no, there's no way we ain't letting you people in. So we criticize the Europeans for not letting anybody from Africa or from the Middle East into Europe. But China has the same fucking policy, okay? But we have this game that we play in our minds to say that when China does it, they have a rational reason, and when the Europeans do it, it's out of racism. And there's probably some truth to why the Europeans are doing it, but I don't know why.
China does have billions of people.
Yeah, right. So there are problems.
They're relocating to A lot of them relocate to Africa, the continent, because of that. Like that kind of
A lot
helps
of
with
people
their.
leave China because there's too many people there already, right? But
Mhm.
what I'm saying is, when there's a humanitarian crisis, you got to be a humanitarian about it, or you're what, like anti-human, you know? So
Yeah. There is some thought that Israel and Turkey are going to be headed to war with Syria soon, right? That's
right.
my
Well,
understanding.
I don't know why they would do that when they already got the regime in place that they wanted. Like, that would be the threat that happened like with the fall of Syria, you know? It just, they didn't need to, in the classic sense, like occupy them directly.
Right.
Nowadays, occupation is done through proxy, usually.
Mm-hmm.
So I had some other links that I was going to share because I had mentioned a few things. I don't know if we need to show the receipts so much, but kind of where should we start? Because I had more reading than videos as usual. So
Yes, you do like to read.
why don't, because we're talking about the migrants, I'm going to call up that story as soon as I find the right link. Okay, here.
While you're doing that, I'm going to read this comment. Cobra says, Stalin did the same thing with Koreans. One of his few mistakes. He feared Japanese extremism and Korean terrorism so much he sent them to the desert. Many died during the relocation.
Yeah, this is where I can have some sympathy for the need to rehabilitate Stalin in many ways, because he's not as much of an evil, horrible supervillain as he's made out to be by Western propaganda. This much is true. We don't need to completely whitewash him and act like he hadn't done some bad things, some very bad things that resulted in a lot of deaths. And people say, that's whatever, you want to make an omelet, you gotta crack a few eggs. What you want from me? I don't want an omelet today. Okay.
I want egg drop soup.
So this article is from Maghrebi.org. It says Iran accuses Afghans of collaborating with Israel during war. It's from July 2nd, 2025. Kind of old news, but we didn't really hear anything about this in the West, so not so much for us.
Mm-hmm.
Iranian authorities have accused some Afghan nationals of collaborating with Israeli intelligence during the recent conflict, allegedly carrying out armed operations and passing on sensitive information. Radio France Internationale reported on July 1st. So that is something that those of us who in independent media or whatever, a little bit more veteran, whatever, recognize that Radio France Internationale, that's like that NATO propaganda shit, right? So big grain of salt. But then the Iranians deported a shit ton of Afghans. So as much as that's being reported by the Radio France Internationale, probably something behind it. So in response, Iranian security forces have launched widespread arrest campaigns in Tehran and other provinces, accelerating the departure of Afghan workers from the country. In a month, over 230,000 Afghans have left Iran. I don't know if those numbers are, well, how to compare those numbers with the ICE raids, but that would be an interesting academic exercise. Zarif, an Afghan worker and ex-soldier who fled the Taliban to find work in Iran, spoke of the growing pressure. This is where they do the human interest stories that are not necessarily as relevant to the big picture. But
Right.
I'm leaving too. They hassle us constantly. They tell us to go. If we stay, there's a fine or even prison. They say to return to Afghanistan and come back with a passport. But even then, they won't let us stay. That's why so many are leaving. The border is clogged. It's anecdotal evidence. Take it for what you will. He is leaving alongside his friend Mohammed, who described being stopped twice in Tehran. Yesterday, I was stopped on the subway, blah, blah, blah. Maybe you're a spy, they said. I don't need to necessarily spend too much on that. So,
are they doing some racial profiling over there too?
Exactly, right? It's kind of universal in a way. So, but it's easy for us to identify with our own domestic situations. We know what we know, right? So over 5 million Afghans are estimated to be living in Iran, around 2 million of them undocumented, working in sectors like construction, agriculture, and manufacturing. Their mass departure might cause a lot of damage to Iran's already fragile economy. So that's just a small little kind of.
And who is this by this article?
This was from Maghrebi.org. News, comment, and opinion from Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, Libya, and Mauritania. So some of these North African countries, their news organizations might be a little bit captured by France and whatnot. So
I was just about my question would be what is making
the
Iran's economy fragile?
Sorry. A lot of things, whatever. Like they've been is basically the sanctions from the West for decades have been leaving Iran caught between a rock and a hard place. But then, as much as that's been a problem for a long time, it's also kind of been the mother of necessity that's driving them into the arms of Russia and China. That's the whole narrative, that the more that they try and hit, like they use the sanctions hammer to hit every nail, the more that they actually undermine their own American dollar. I think there's some truth to that, but to say that the economies that are kind of going through this assault by the West are like extremely resilient, may be a bit of propaganda necessary for those countries to, like, if the panic sets in, that's the problem. So what do you have to do to avoid the panic? You have to tell everyone everything's fine. Every nation, every economic whatever minister of every nation is always lying about how good or bad the economy's doing.
Right, exactly. Maghrebi means west, Rondo says.
Yeah, the west of Africa. So that was just sorry, what
go ahead, because I was going to say something completely off topic.
Yeah, that was just one little blurb about the refugee crisis about Iran. I was going to show maybe one of the many things that Pakistan was also trying to deport some like 16 villages or something, and then Afghanistan attacked.
Jeez.
So, but the main thing that they're saying caused the conflict is Pakistan decided they had the right to go bomb so-called terrorists that were probably terrorists, but that's the problem when you just assume, because people say they're terrorists, that they are. But from what we heard about the Taliban, I don't want to be too like, oh, these guys are like perfect, whatever. Nothing to criticize about them, you know.
I mean, at one point they were allies. So this is what I wonder is why you're pulling. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, that's one of the things to say about Afghanistan and Pakistan is they were allies wherever Pakistan was supporting the Taliban. So this is one of those things about like you get what you pay for is what a lot of people are saying, you know.
Well, I just question if it's global political theater as well, because, or it could just be the U.S., stabbing motherfuckers in the back like they always do. So it, you never know. All we could do is theorize. But while you're pulling that up, I wanted to tell Django. I don't know if you're on our Discord, but if you are, you should go to the music section because Sean knows some good music. He has like some real good shit on
Sean,
there that he shares. So I think you would really enjoy some of the picking up what he's putting down in there. And I have to I will be right back. Okay. Oh, he froze. So I guess I'm not going anywhere for a second. Can you hear me, Mike? Michael? Mic check, Michael. You are frozen. Maybe he doesn't know it. I can't kick him out. Oh, yeah, back. There you are. Okay, I have to walk away for a second, okay?
All right, I'll read some article.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. So this was from 9th of October 2025. Okay. UNHCR expresses concern over Pakistan's plan to expel Afghan refugees from 16 villages. United Nations Refugee Agency has expressed concern over Pakistan's plan to expel Afghan refugees from 16 villages in Balochistan, Punjab, and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, warning that forced expulsion could lead to devastating humanitarian consequences, Afghan media reported on Thursday, highlighting that Afghan refugees have lived in Pakistan for years and built their lives, families, and communities here. UNHCR representative in Pakistan, Philippa Candler, has urged Pakistan to stop the deportations and ensure the return of refugees take place voluntarily and with dignity, leading Afghan news agency, Press reported. Candler said these expulsions could cause immense suffering for vulnerable families and undermine efforts to reintegrate them safely in Afghanistan. Yeah, by the way, is from the labor perspective, like the more people that you deport en masse, the more likely they are to be forced into conditions of forced labor when they have to go back home against their will, when they're unprepared for it. You put them in a situation, a coercive situation that is designed to extract slave labor from them. That's all part of it, part and parcel of it. So she urged Pakistan to carry out any repatriation process in phases with full respect for human rights and humanitarian principles. UNHCR's representative's statement comes after the Pakistani government reportedly asked Afghan nationals in 16 villages to leave the country immediately as part of their plan to deport undocumented migrants that started in 2023. Pakistani authorities have said that the campaign has been launched to address security concerns. However, the rights groups called it a collective punishment. So let me find another article here. Because the refugee aspect is one side of it, but I'm trying to kind of point to the multiple contradictions that force nations into conflict, and to kind of connect the refugee issue with the currency issue is, I think, somewhat important, because the reason why they would consider these refugees to be a threat is that they are possible vectors for like the money trafficking and the money laundering. There's this thing, money exchange system, that's been around since like the 8th century. And so that's the kind of thing that, like, long-term cultural practices that makes, I don't know if you guys could still hear me if I'm lagging or not, but apologies. God damn, I was trying to switch browsers over because I'm still stuck with this Internet Explorer browser. But everything, it's because of like the Google sign-in stuff. I have to use this one to use StreamYard. And so it just takes me a little bit longer to open up my sources here. So here's why Afghanistan currency is much greater than Pakistan's currency, which was, to me, a bit of a surprise. If anyone's known about what's happened with Afghanistan over the past 20 years, it would be your intuition would suspect that Afghanistan's currency should be like one of the worst in the world, where Pakistan, you would assume, would have a stronger currency. But it's the ongoing economic crisis in Pakistan is being further exacerbated by the alarming outflow of foreign currency from the country. This concerning situation is fueled by the smuggling of millions of US dollars into neighboring Afghanistan on a daily basis, which also, by the way, one of the consequences of the outbreak of the border conflict was the shutting down of the border. So what does that do? If they really need to shut down the border for economic reasons, that's what they've achieved, rather than military reasons, right? So two birds in one stone. And Afghani has emerged as one of the best performing currencies in the world over the past 12 months, while the Pakistani rupee has experienced a decline, positioning it among the worst performing currencies globally. Now, people would argue sometimes having a weak currency is useful to be competitive with exports and whatnot, whatever. That's true. There's economic logic to that, but there's not logic to intentionally being the worst performing currency so you can be competitive, right? So the impact of these illicit financial outflows is twofold. Firstly, it contributes to a shortage of foreign currency reserves within Pakistan, adding strain to an already fragile economy. Secondly, it has had a significant influence on the exchange rate between the Afghani and the Pakistani rupee. As of today, one Afghani is equivalent to approximately 3.28 Pakistani rupees, reflecting the stark contrast in their respective performances. And that's not even comparing them to like the American dollar, right? Which is a way bigger difference. So, according to a report by Bloomberg, these unauthorized currency flows are providing a substantial lifeline to a strained Afghan economy. The influx of US dollars, which has been denied to the Taliban regime by the United States and Europe, has offered significant relief to Afghanistan's financial situation. Despite facing international sanctions and restrictions, the country has witnessed a strengthening of its currency, providing some stability and respite amid challenging circumstances. So another thing that the Taliban regime has done is they've actually banned US dollars, trying to shore up their currency, but they know full well that they need US dollars as long as their economy is like strangled, cut off from the global economy. So it's one of those strange policies that they have to have an official ban on US dollars, but they have an unofficial incentive to acquire them through the black market. So as Pakistan grapples with economic challenges, the issue of currency smuggling and foreign currency outflows remains a pressing concern. Sorry? What's up?
Oh, I was just going to say, please hit that X. For the
those stupid adverts. That's the thing when you try to talk about Pakistani news or India, you get these awful ads that are very distracting. But hopefully one day that will change. Maybe the end of the dollar hegemony will strengthen these currencies to the point where they don't need to be so reliant on ads so badly, whatever. But where was that? I think efforts are also underway to address the root causes of this currency disparity, focusing on improving economic conditions within Pakistan, fostering a conducive business environment, and attracting foreign investment. They've already got the IMF billion-dollar loans kind of thing. I don't think that a foreign investment is really doing what it's supposed to be. You know what I mean? They're not really going to improve their economic conditions. They're not going to foster a conducive business environment as long as the Pakistan military has control over everything. I was hearing, I forget which podcast it was, but somebody was talking about the nation of Pakistan is like a military base with a nation. It's not a nation with military bases. That's kind of a funny way to put it. But that's a big problem. You know, the whole thing about guns and butter, that's always going to be a real contradiction that can't be ignored. You can't just put everything into weaponry and expect your economy to be functioning properly. You know what I mean? You have to have a little bit of rationalism to your approach to economics, you know, not just militarism. So
I mean, I guess it depends on who you care about the economy functioning for. It's working out pretty good for the United States right by now.
Right. Well, because that's what the whole strategy there is. When the economy is in disaster and is like you can't be saved, whatever, you just have to go to war to fix it, and that's literally what always happens.
Always.
It's almost like fascism is the last resort of capitalism.
What? Who would have thought it?
So there is.
I always thought it was imperialism, but I guess the fascism comes first. I don't know.
Yeah, these words are the differences between these words end up not being that great at the end of the day.
Bye, Oman Barker.
So I was
Enjoy
just going to
your
maybe
weekend.
share a couple more on that currency thing. Have a good one, old man. Sorry we were
So while you're doing that,
a
I'm gonna
little
read
more
a comment.
indiscerning. I didn't realize that I
So Cobra says, I don't know if he's talking in the chat or, well, anyway, he says the crux of the Ukraine issue, it was never intended to be an independent state as much of the world depends on its grain to survive. Mm. Resource theft.
That's true.
And it says imperialism is
So
just capitalism and fascism expanding. Oh, yeah. I like that.
that's a good
That's
way to
I
put
like
it.
that. That's a good way to think of it.
Yeah. So I just wanted to share this headline real quick. Pakistan's rupee surges amid crackdown on illegal dollar trade. According to Bloomberg, the rupee saw a nearly 6% increase of September of 2023. So 2 years ago. And this is from the Bloomberg source. For the Taliban, traders and others bring in as much as 5 million a day. Illicit flows help Afghanistan but hurt Pakistan's economy. So that's just kind of establishing this has been a long-term problem that Pakistan has felt it must put an end to eventually, or else it's kind of lost control of its sovereignty, right? So in this way,
Can
we
you
can
make it bigger?
for
There's
that.
something. Oh, never mind. It cleared up. It was looking really blurry at first.
Oh, okay. I was more just showing the headlines on there and then trying to find the next, because we're kind of.
Oh, this is what you were talking about earlier.
So one thing about Pakistan claims that the Taliban have not been doing enough to prevent terrorist activity waged against Pakistan, and I think one way to sort of fact check that a little bit, I think it's this one, is to look into Taliban.
We're still seeing the dollar smuggled.
Yeah, my bad. Here we go.
No worries.
It's just taking me a moment because I got to go search for it in the other browser and then transfer it over. I think that's actually working better to keep my computer from getting a little too frozen. Because when I have all the tabs open on the Internet Explorer while I'm streaming from there, it seems to like fuck everything up. But so here we go. Militants becoming ISKP's new force, which is Islamic State, whatever, ISIS-K, if you remember them. See this? Let me see.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, it's been real glitchy, so I'm sorry, guys. Not much I can do until I can afford a new computer, apparently. So.
You're getting clowned in the chat. Are you
as the
using
Taliban
Internet
cracked
Explorer?
down on Uyghur fighters complying with pressure from China, the Islamic State recruiting opportunity. So that's where I'm saying that. Sorry.
It must be
You're
a
breaking
delay.
up a bit.
It must be a delay because you just got that joke.
Yeah. Sorry. Using IE. Just kidding. I know. I never used to. I just fuck.
And yes, Rondo, it is called Edge. I think that's why it's so funny.
Yeah. Why they gotta change names for no apparent reason or whatever? Just make me have to remember something new. So, God damn, this lagging is shit. I maybe have to share the link with you.
You want to send it to me?
Yeah,
you can send it to me. Send it
it's
to
not
me.
on the screen from what I can see. Here, now it's back.
I just took it off, but you
Now
can
you're
send it to
gone.
me.
Oh, there.
I'm gone. Oh no, Michael.
Sorry. Bear with us, everyone. Technical difficulties.
Technical
But I think this is an interesting
difficulties.
angle to take it, because it seems to me, from my preliminary analysis here, that that the Taliban, the Afghan Taliban, has been capable of suppressing. The Taliban are able to deal with the Uyghur terrorists for China, but not the Pakistani terrorists for Pakistan. That to me suggests that the Pakistanis have a little bit of credibility when they say that you could do more, but you're not. You're choosing not to, right? So you're intentionally leaving people hostile to us in your backyard so that you can take advantage of them being hostile to us.
Say that statement again. You said the Chinese are able to deal with, what'd you say?
The Taliban are able to deal with the Uyghur terrorists to keep them from being a problem for China, but they don't seem to be able to do the same terrorist suppression for the Pakistanis, the terrorists terrorizing Pakistan. So that would be a double standard or an inconsistency on the part of the Taliban. Why would they do that? Would they stand to benefit more from China than they do from Pakistan? But vast majority of their trade goes through Pakistan. So it seems like they want to kind of break Pakistan's advantage or influence that they have over Afghanistan because they have to trade through Pakistan to get to the global market. So for the majority of their goods.
All right, so you want me to read it, or you just?
Yeah, you might as well. Yeah, you go ahead and read it because you got control of it now. So.
Are Uyghur militants becoming new force? As the Taliban cracks down on Uyghur fighters complying with pressure from China, the Islamic State sees a recruiting opportunity.
I would say the diplomat. This source, the diplomat, is probably like a neocon think tank sort of thing, just for readers of awareness.
And this is from March 2025. Uyghur separatist groups have consistently supported the Taliban in their 2-decade-long fight for control of Afghanistan, but increased Chinese presence in the country is altering the status quo with significant risk for Beijing. The Taliban have long provided members of the East Turkestan Islamic Movement, also known as the Turkestan Islamic Party, with opportunities for residence, education, and illicit trade. In return, these groups have supported the Taliban both financially, benefiting from complex Uyghur financial systems across the region, and with a supply of fighters. The former Islamic Republic of Afghanistan government repeatedly reported the presence of these groups as one of the main foreign factors backing the Taliban, particularly in the northern and northeastern provinces of Afghanistan. The what? Erstwhile. I've never heard that word in my life. That's a word. Erstwhile. Is that a word? Is that a real word or a type?
I think it's funny. Yeah, it's definitely a word. Yeah, it's a word. It's like saying that they're earnest. They're honest, hardworking. Like earnest. You know the word earnest?
Earnest, yeah, earnest. Earnest means honest.
Yeah,
okay.
Which is where it's like that doesn't belong next to the Afghan government.
Red flag. The Afghan government considered these Uyghur militant groups to be key operational arms of the Taliban in certain areas. With the 2021 fall of the Republic and the Taliban's return to power, China swiftly revealed and expanded its previously covert two-decade-long relationship with the Taliban. Although the Taliban initially expected extensive economic and political support from China, Beijing has backed a chosen few initiatives aligning with its economic and strategic interests. Over the past 3 years, Chinese companies, supported by the country's diplomatic and economic structures, have established a significant presence in Afghanistan and Africa. These companies have sought exclusive economic opportunities, particularly in the extraction of rare natural resources such as uranium and lithium, while offering selective trade incentives such as tariff exemptions on Chinese exports to Afghanistan. Additionally, China has provided political support for the Taliban in international forums to consolidate its influence over the regime. Ain't that something? Meanwhile, Chinese state media and propaganda outlets systematically portray Afghanistan, encouraging hundreds of Chinese tourists to visit in recent years while promoting the Communist Party's cultural policies in Afghanistan. Well, this is all news to me. This is interesting. The Taliban, in turn, have made every effort to accommodate Chinese citizens, even at the cost of disregarding their own strict Sharia laws. They have ensured that female Chinese tourists face no religious restrictions while simultaneously enforcing the harshest regulations on Afghan women. Is that still accurate though? Is this still accurate?
They definitely are.
Oh, for the Taliban, not exactly for the country. The country.
They are
Okay.
still definitely enforcing all that horrible shit on women that we can't really do anything about as long as the goddamn American imperialists are actually worse than Taliban. What do you want from us?
Social media is awash with photos of Chinese tourists, including women, smiling while posed next to Taliban fighters, often with both sides holding automatic weapons. What?
That's just a little bit of probably that neocon propaganda.
I'm about to click this. I want to see these photos.
I got to look into who owns the Diplomat, or wherever. It's probably some Koch brothers type shit.
Yeah, I'll let that. Yeah, you should look that up while I'm reading. Additionally, Mullah Abdul Ghani Barada, the Taliban regime's deputy prime minister for economic affairs, pledged that they would never allow any force to engage in acts detrimental to China. In practice, this means acceding to Beijing's demands to crack down on Uyghur militants. Under pressure from the Chinese government, the Taliban have attempted to prevent members of the TIP, which is the I forgot what it was, something party, from undertaking any actions against Chinese citizens and interests. Reports indicate that in response to China's demands, the Taliban relocated members of the group from the northeastern border province to Badakhshan. You get the picture. Previously a major Uyghur militant stronghold against the former Afghanistan government, to other locations, including Herat province in western Afghanistan. Now, before I go, I think this picture's up. Let's see if the picture's up. Oh, it's gonna want me to sign in. Doesn't want me to sign in. Oh, well, there you have it. Can I make it big?
Oh, goddamn, we're laggy today. Sorry, guys.
Oh, yeah, because I'm over here doing other stuff. And you don't even see it, huh? What? Oh, I know why.
No,
It's not lag. I have to share this tab instead.
Oh. Oh, there's a picture.
Not lag. There it is. Yeah, there's a picture. I'm so sorry because
Yeah,
I'm looking at my other monitor.
Yeah, anecdotal evidence, of course, right? How many is this one Chinese woman's representative of all of China now? Or
right,
this one too?
6 billion people. There's 4 pictures. So what's 6 billion divided by 4? All right, so let me go back to the other one. There we go. In a recent conversation with an informed source inside Afghanistan, I never tell you who the source is. We learned that despite these concessions and mutual interests, the Taliban remains skeptical of China. This distrust stems from Beijing's reluctance to formally recognize the Taliban regime or provide the level of financial assistance the Taliban had expected. Instead, China's involvement has been focused on trade, advancing the Belt and Road Initiative, and securing Taliban compliance and suppressing, I can't remember these parties' names, but it was like the Taliban something party or something like that, but suppressing their activities. Meanwhile, the Islamic State's local branch, a staunch enemy of the Taliban, is keen to step in to bolster its own ranks with Uyghur militants. In October 2021, a suicide attack by the Islamic State Khorasan province, I hope I'm saying that right, targeted a mosque in Kunduz, northern Afghanistan, where Shia Hazaras were attending Friday prayers. The attack killed approximately 70 people and injured more than 100 others. ISKIP identified the attacker as Mohammed al-Rigari. Al-Rigari? Well, that's interesting. That's kind of okay.
That's a very Uyghur last name.
Yeah. While assigning ethnic or regional surnames to attackers is not new for the Islamic State, choosing the surname Uyguri for this particular attacker, regardless of whether he was actually of Uyghur ethnicity, sent a clear message to Uyghur militants. ISKIP's doors are open to them in response to Taliban repression. Okay, so that was purposely done.
Yeah.
It's always the mask with the guns and ain't nobody scared of it.
I was looking up who's the owner of this. I'm not sure if it's giving me, because the name The Diplomat is probably really generic and broad. There might be several companies that could be owned by several people. So it seemed to give me some Canadian names that I don't think are owners, and I did find a
wait before you keep going. Can we just say goodnight?
MediaBiasFactCheck.com is saying.
Before you keep going, can we say goodnight to Jacqueline?
Yeah.
Have a good night, Jacqueline.
Have a good night, Jacqueline. Thanks for watching.
All right. So I'm sorry.
See you next time.
I just wanted.
That's okay. You're right. It's always the same. Usually we hit that 2-hour mark and she's got to go. I get it. It gets late out there. Right. So have a good sleep.
All right. So go ahead.
So
you were looking up the Diplomat.
Fact check. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the MediaBiasFactCheck.com website considers them to be one of the least biased publications out there. Factual reporting high, not very high, but quite high. I don't know about that. But it says that it is an online international news magazine covering politics, society, and culture in the Asia-Pacific region. It is based in Tokyo, Japan. Became a strictly online entity in 2009. It's owned by TransAsia Incorporated, which is a bit of a who knows who owns that. So that's what that says.
Okay. Let me see. This picture is so funny. I just remember when on the Bill Maher show when Hassim Bey, formerly known as Mos Def, when he was like, all that Taliban shit, I don't believe none of that shit. Like if a motherfucker wanted to get you, they gonna get you. They ain't gonna make video after video talking about, yeah, nigga, next time I see
I'm coming for you.
I'm gonna put a bullet up.
One of these things is going up your ass. I'm not going to say which, but one of these things is going up your ass.
Oh my gosh. All right. How okay. Should I keep going? This is long. Oh, it's not that much.
Yeah, we don't need to read the whole thing. I think you kind of got the gist of
Okay.
it.
We kind of got
About,
the gist of it. Okay.
yeah, you can feel free to read up further on that if you like. I don't know what the title of the article was called, but if you look up the diplomat,
I'm putting it in the chat. Oh,
yeah, there you go.
that is not what I'm trying to put in the chat. I don't know why.
So let me try and think of where was I going to go to after that. I want to try and tie it to India, of course. When we're talking about Pakistan, I would be remiss not to mention India's role, because India's always got a role in these types of events, and it's a bit it's interesting to observe with the Hindutva fascists, all about Hinduism. When you look into their relationship with the Taliban, it's never really been one of natural allies. If didn't have the mutual enemy of Pakistan, they would probably be at each other's throats, of course. But the enemy of my enemy is my friend, right? So even though the Taliban has kind of, there used to actually be lots of Hindus in Afghanistan, like probably back in, I think in the 70s and stuff. That was when they started to really get like purged from Afghanistan. And nowadays, if you, I think the Wikipedia page was saying there was like a dozen Hindus left in the whole country. So like less than 100. There's probably like a handful of Hindus left because of the Taliban's like religious, ultra, whatever, theocratic extremism. But the way to understand that, why would India have anything to do with someone that's been ethnically cleansing Hindus from their country? It's because they have that. It's a good way to understand it actually is to compare it with the Nazis and the Zionists. That's probably the best way to understand this, because the Nazis were motivated to purge the Jews from Europe, and then they saw the Zionists were wanting all the Jews to leave Europe to come to Israel. So they had a mutual benefit, whatever. They had the same goal that would benefit them for different reasons. So if the Taliban doesn't want any Hindus in Afghanistan, and India wants Hindus to like come to India and make India a Hindu stronghold, they kind of they advocate for policies of segregation like that, so that they can then, whatever, 100 years from now, probably wage like a genocidal war against each other once they've fully segregated each other and have full control over the populations they claim their own. So, but it is very worth noting. Let me call up a tab here.
Rondo says India isn't terribly kind to its Muslim population. So there's that also.
Right. But then now they're not very kind to their Muslim population, but they're shaking hands with Afghanistan's foreign minister, making big public shows about how we love these particular Muslims, but not the ones in our own country, kind of thing. So
I mean, that sounds like America.
Very hypocritical.
Sounds a lot
Doesn't
like
it?
America.
So, but there's all this, like China's trying to navigate and create these win-win situations with these people who want to win at the expense of their neighbors, because they really just hate each other. So this is something that kind of needs to be looked into to understand maybe the situation here. So this article is from cpecinfo.com, which I guess is just a website dedicated to the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. So Pakistan, from June 23rd, 2025, Pakistan endorses the CPEC extension to Afghanistan as step toward regional unity. So just this summer, Pakistan was trying to make diplomatic moves with China to increase their cooperation with Afghanistan, and it seems like it's all fallen apart now in the fall. So what the fuck happened, right? Pakistan has officially welcomed the extension of the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor to Afghanistan, viewing it as a step towards greater regional connectivity and economic integration. During a trilateral meeting in Istanbul, Pakistan, China, and Afghanistan's interim government also agreed to restore diplomatic ties and strengthen trilateral cooperation under the Belt and Road Initiative. See, I did not realize this before we were hearing from the Kevork-Almassian Syriana analysis, but this trilateral meeting was in Istanbul, Turkey, where the Pakistan and China and Afghanistan were trying to restore the diplomatic ties. So that's something worth taking note of, I think. In a significant development for regional integration, Pakistan has welcomed the extension of the China-Pakistan economic corridor into Afghanistan. The announcement was made during a high-level meeting between Pakistan's Deputy Prime Minister Senator Ishaq Dar and Afghanistan's acting Foreign Minister Amir Khan Muttaqi on the sidelines of an event in Istanbul on Sunday. Senator Dar described the extension as a positive development for regional connectivity, reaffirming Pakistan's commitment to deepening trilateral cooperation with China and Afghanistan. The move comes amid an agreement between China, Pakistan, and the Taliban interim government to formally extend CPEC into Afghan territory, an initiative expected to enhance infrastructure development, trade routes, and economic cooperation among the three neighbors. A flagship component of China's Belt and Road Initiative, CPEC has already delivered major energy, transport, and connectivity projects across Pakistan. Its expansion into Afghanistan signals a new phase of economic collaboration aimed at unlocking Afghanistan's trade potential and facilitating regional integration. Despite ongoing tensions and border issues, all three sides expressed readiness to restore full diplomatic ties, including the exchange of ambassadors in the near future. So what I find interesting, I'm going to switch to another article. I know I'm jumping a lot, but I think it's makes a good point. If it all ties together, if you bear with me. But this article is saying that this flagship component, CPEC, has already delivered major energy, transport, and connectivity projects across Pakistan. But I've also got another article here that is claiming a decade later, China's BRI vision in Pakistan stumbles amid debt, security fears, and poor governance. So there's, and this one's from firstpost.com, which I believe is an Indian outlet. So there's some kind of a media, info war going on about this shit. So if you can see this one here. This one's from April 20th, so it's actually older than the other one that was claiming that it's already delivered on stuff. So, goddamn. Okay. The CPEC initiative is way behind schedule. At least 31 projects valued at more than... Okay, fuck off. Can I read the article?
I think they want, yeah. I don't know.
What the fuck?
Do you have to hit that arrow?
Okay, am I back? Do I have to do a song and dance?
What? You could twerk?
Shit.
I wouldn't mind seeing that.
Am I back there? I was glitching out for a little minute there. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. You weren't glitching.
Okay. It did for me, but I'll have to
okay.
review the stream later to see what it looks like. So it says the CPEC initiative is way behind schedule. At least 31 projects valued at more than $22 billion have yet to begin. This article is written in April. The last article was written in June. You think that they already delivered major energy, transport, and connectivity projects across Pakistan in the span of a couple of months, whatever? Somebody's not telling the truth, right? So while Islamabad pitches a CPEC 2.0 to its citizens, Beijing has not committed to any major new investments in the country. So either the firstpost.com is lying like through their teeth, or there's some kind of grain of truth there to what they're saying about they've claimed to be making this big deal, but actual implementation of the deal seems to have stalled. So 10 years after it was hailed as a transformative moment in Pakistan's economic history, the CPEC is languishing in uncertainty, with key projects stalled, security threats mounting, and once ambitious visions for regional connectivity left unrealized. When Chinese President Xi Jinping visited in Islamabad on 20th of April 2015, he signed a raft of agreements marking the start of CPEC, Pakistan's $50 billion flagship component of Beijing's Belt and Road Initiative. The venture was supposed to overhaul infrastructure, supercharge growth, and reforge Sino-Pakistani ties in steel. Today, analysts describe it as a shadow of those original aspirations. Wow, that's all that they wanted to write, and they had all those advertisements to fill in the meantime.
Mhm.
Not really a very good news source, is it?
You look very
So-
dark today.
They
Very
don't-
dark in there.
Sorry, what's that?
It's very dark
Am
in
I
there.
dark in my room here? Yeah. Well, it's getting to be more wintertime, so it's getting dark at night now. So let me turn on my... I usually have my little lamp on here. Is that better?
Yeah, it's much better.
So
Mm.
just, I think, one more for now. And then I don't know how much longer you're wanting to go on about this. But I need to kind of
I'm getting
point out
tired.
about how the Afghan foreign... Yeah, I just need to tie it in with the Afghan foreign minister being received in India. Because that's like
I gotta go. I
the
gotta
height
go
of
make sure.
ridiculousness, you know?
I gotta go make sure my mom is getting
Because
out
they're
of the house.
all
I'll be
talking
right back.
about, we're going to have whatever, trilateral unity. We're going to, bury the hatchet. And then, okay. Okay, sorry. Almost there, guys. Let me just see what you guys are saying. Sean's saying, what you need to understand is it's always bullshit. Oh, yeah, I know. I just don't, I want to have like a tiny amount of hope that something is real. That just slips me into nihilism to go, oh, what's the story here? Oh, bullshit. Okay, never mind. I don't need to know. So,
What I miss? What bullshit did I
Ghost of Henry.
miss?
No, just Sean saying what you need to understand is it's always bullshit. It's all bullshit. It's all the
Always.
world's a stage,
The whole world. That's like, I just feel like, I don't know. I'm not gonna shake hands with a motherfucker that I can't stand.
Mhm.
I don't care
Principles
how
matter,
it looks on camera.
Yeah. The ghost of Henry Kissinger is gracing us with his presence. May you rot in hell.
Yes. Apparently his shit's turning to demons down there.
Mm. All right. Well, they look like they're just basically having more fun in the chat tonight, which is fine. Enjoy.
Yeah,
So
I kind of got everybody off track
This will
with the.
probably be maybe the last one we'll share, unless I can find a.
I'm trying to get my mom out the house. Cause Django, you know
That's
how
what you were
hard that
saying.
is. She's already late.
Okay. But I didn't even really go break down the actual details of the conflict. That kind of gave the breakdown of that, so I'm not sure how. But actually, I guess just to remember to mention, in case I forget before we go off stream or whatever, I called the stream Afghan-Pakistan war to be or not to be continued. It is important to mention that they did sign a 48-hour ceasefire, which we're like 24 hours into today. We will find out if all of this amounts to be a big nothing burger in the next 24 hours. We'll see if they go back to war or not. I am inclined to believe that they will most likely will, but maybe not tomorrow. It might take like a month or two or something. But I don't see this. I see no contradictions resolved whatsoever, and a lot of hatred and expectation for total submission from both sides, which is a recipe for disaster that can only bear whatever, only cook out to be something. You know what I mean? So, so is something big about to happen in POK, which I think is Pakistan administered Kashmir. India discusses Wakhan corridor with Afghanistan's Amir Khan Mutaki, who we just saw. They're going to work together. Made them to Pakistan. In the presence of Afghan Foreign Minister, India issued a stern warning to Pakistan regarding its illegal occupation of Kashmir. India called Afghanistan its closest neighbor, even though it currently shares a border with Pakistan. So they're not even actually neighbors with Afghanistan, but there is a huge amount of disputed territory in the Asia region. And if that territory dispute is resolved in India's favor, then they may actually one day find themselves only if Kashmir goes completely all to India and none to Pakistan, which I don't see that happening anytime soon. So what's really going to happen? India issued a significant ultimatum on Friday regarding Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir in a joint statement with Afghan Foreign Minister Amir Khan Mutaki. External Affairs Minister land border meets Afghanistan through Kashmir. I think the only solution is for Kashmir to be independent, but that's just me. Who knows if that's right? The land border between India and Afghanistan is only 106 kilometers long. This is the Wakhan corridor, a strategically important area. For this reason, China has always kept a close eye on it. However, the area of India that this corridor connects to is currently occupied, whatever, in dispute. Afghanistan and Kashmir, which is what India and Pakistan fought their little war about for 4 days. So to treat these issues as disconnected, I think makes no sense whatsoever. Announcing the restoration of full diplomatic relations with Taliban-ruled Afghanistan, External Affairs Minister Jai Shankar said, as a close neighbor and well-wisher of the people of Afghanistan, India has a deep interest in your development and progress. India has also announced the expansion of its mission in Kabul into an embassy. So what's important about that is the only nation that I am aware of besides India that has officially recognized the Taliban government is Russia. So when we're talking about Russia's hypocrisy in Syria, okay, all these moving parts, Russia's historically had a really strong relationship with India. They sell them a lot of oil. India's really big component in Europeans getting around the Russian sanctions to keep buying the Russian oil. So as much as we love BRICS, whatever, this hypocrisy, whatever, stinks too much for me to be a part of. You know what I mean? So the other thing is
I don't know if I love
the
Brits.
Taliban has never recognized. Yeah, the Taliban has never recognized the Durand. It's called the Durand Line, the border between Pakistan and Afghanistan, because what does it always come down to? Goddamn British colonialism. Okay, because who drew that fucking border line? It was the British, and that's why the Afghanistan rightfully refuses to recognize it as legitimate. But who wants to uphold it? Just like Egypt is a piece of shit in the dispute with Ethiopia over their dam, and they're trying to uphold with like these egregious colonial legal decisions, like delineating borders that they had no right to delineate, whatever. The party that wants to uphold the colonial legacy, I think, is in the wrong on that particular issue. So I think Pakistan is wrong to declare the border drawn by the British to be the rightful border. And in my view, whatever, the Taliban are right to oppose that border being made concrete, whatever. The problem is that Pakistan would have to give up some of their territory if they admitted that the British didn't have any right to determine how big their country is. So, and what is the problem with Kashmir? The British drew the goddamn border. Okay, what's the problem with most of the African countries? The British drew the goddamn border. So when we're trying to say it's Pakistan's fault, it's Afghanistan's fault, it's the fucking British monarchy's fault. And monarchists who want to sit there and say that monarchists have that monarchs have the right to decide anything, that's the problem. Okay, so
I mean, they caused a lot of conflict in the continent of Africa by the way they just carved it up like it was a piece of meat to just.
Yeah, and it's not just carving it up. They specifically picked the worst possible spot to draw the line, intentionally splitting tribal communities right in half. That's exactly what they did here. It's what they've done in so many different places in Africa. And that is designed to create conflict for generations. So you can't sit there and make excuses for why that line has to be the line that we make important. No, you need a new fucking border agreed on by the parties involved, not all the international people, vultures that have an interest in like fucking these countries over and dictating terms to them. But you know, whatever, plebs don't know shit about politics. Right?
I think that they are working on. Let me make sure I'm not mistaken. They're working on in Africa. You know how in Europe, when you get into Europe, like once you get there and go through customs, you could travel anywhere through Europe. They are trying to do something like that in Africa. So that is awesome.
Well, hopefully that can be one of the positive developments that we actually get to report on, rather than all this negative news all the time. Yeah, Sean. Yeah, plates on a stick. Yeah. So I guess just the last little blurb here is also kind of important. Meanwhile, Mutaki has told India that Afghanistan will never allow its territory to be used for anti-India activities. That's a guarantee, a very strong guarantee, using the word never, okay, to India, that you'll never let terrorists attack India from Afghanistan. And I mentioned how they're taking the steps with China to ensure that the Chinese don't have a problem with Uyghur terrorists, whatever, right? But then when it comes to Pakistan, well, we don't have the ability to make sure that our territory is never used for anti-Pakistan activities. So that is something that is untenable for the Taliban. They don't have a leg to stand on if they're not going to actually deal with criminal organizations, which is what the terrorists are supposed to, carrying out illegal activity would be, hoarding illegally purchased weapons and other weapons, whatever, and then using them to kill people, whatever. That's a crime. We don't even need to call it terrorism, whatever, right? You just call it organized crime, and you can deal with it that way. But you're not, right? You're finding a reason to be complicit in the organized crime. So you don't exactly have a legal right to say whatever they don't have the right to attack us because X, Y, Z, whatever. When we're saying where we support Russia in Ukraine, we're sort of we're using the argument that a nation has the right to preserve its territorial integrity through an aggressive, like an invasive kind of action, or whatever. Because if your territorial integrity has been jeopardized by the neighboring state, and they're not doing anything to correct the issue, or whatever, then you're for the reasons of national security, you have the right apparently to intervene. That's basically the precedent that Russia has set. So this is one of those rules for me and not for thee, but we're all multipolar, right?
And also, they were bombing the Donbass for a long time. So there's that too.
Yeah. So that's where the UN, or whatever, the non-binding international bullshit, doesn't have an ability to deal with this problem about so-called terrorists, right?
There's been no follow-up about the ICC.
State-sponsored terrorists is basically you through unofficial organizations, because they can't officially attack you. The international legal whatever crime syndicate needs to figure out how to make a goddamn legal solution to that. That's what they are. They're also organized crime or whatever, running the legal system. But we don't talk about that. Because we got the ICJ that's like refusing to acknowledge genocide in Gaza, right? And now we see what's happening with Venezuela and stuff. And now what does that mean? Venezuela has to reject the ICJ ruling about the Guyana Essequibo disputed territory. That's kind of in the background of that situation with them. The international law can't deal with it because it's been compromised. And so it becomes correct for a nation like Venezuela to disregard the rulings of the ICJ if it's a body with no teeth, a dead letter. But at the same time, what does that do? That actually validates Israel's refusal of recognizing the ICJ conclusions. So that's where I'm saying, like, it's like Sean's saying, it's all bullshit at the end of the day. I would love to put my whatever chips behind somebody, but doesn't seem to be a valid thing or correct whatever decision to make. So that's our show for tonight, I guess. You're muted, Abby. Sorry. Yeah, you're trying to be, because you're trying to talk to Tosh. No worries. Oh, yes. Thank you, Kieran Pine. Justice for Aspen. Let me call up the GoFundMe if I can.
I have it up already.
Okay.
I have it up already. So we have 2 GoFundMes, but I just saw Free Aspen in the church chat, so we'll start with them.
Okay.
Because she's about to go to church.
Bringing it back home for a minute.
Oh, was I?
I'm just.
Did I? Were you talking about? I'm sorry. My mom was
No.
talking to me. I just
No,
assumed
that's
that's what y'all were talking about.
Oh no, I'm just saying. Now that that whole international geopolitical stuff's over, let's bring it back home for a minute or whatever. Some of the stuff that always gets forgotten about when you're focusing about the big picture is stuff like this. You know, there's been this.
Oh yeah, go read the story.
Yeah, there's been a really inspiring thing to witness independent media come together.
And we're supposed to be doing one too soon, right? I just don't know when, because I just been working. I don't know.
Yeah,
we've been. You were gonna take that on.
They've asked us to help out with this donation fundraiser, so we're doing what we can. We haven't really been as involved as some of the other podcasters.
We're supposed to stream it on our show one day.
Yeah, I think that's happening at the end of the month.
Okay. I didn't know where we were on the schedule.
Yeah, Indy's coordinating all that. He'll let us know. So thankfully we're kind of just like, we're not in a leader capacity in this kind of fundraiser. You're asking us for help, whatever, we'll do what we can. Talk about it on our show, share some tweets on Twitter and stuff. Hopefully that helps. There's so many people needing so much right now. It's hard for me to feel motivated that this fundraiser will be effective, because it's like a never-ending demand with not nearly enough supply. That doesn't mean we still have to keep trying. So
it's better than not having any support. And then
well, they've actually made quite some progress. In this $4,000 was like raised in. I feel like they raised that in only like a month or so. So it shows the power of the crowdfunding. But actually, ironically, considering we were just talking about all that, I mentioned this thing called the Hawala system. It's like an ancient Arabic unofficial way of transferring money without banks, and it seems to me like this donation stuff is like a modern Western version of that Hawala stuff. I just thought that was ironic, so I just wanted to say that. So let's do this or whatever, like we as podcasters, we're in a unique position to kind of participate as like a member of a Hawala system where like if we're the trusted people who find you pages to donate that actually are people who actually need help instead of a scam who's just trying to pretend to be in need to get some money out of you. So the pages that we're sharing are definitely real people in serious situations that are definitely good, honest, innocent people who did nothing to deserve what's happening to them. And so if you have anything that you can spare to share, just to donate, or if not, then you can share the website.
Share it on your social media.
Yeah, thank you. We would appreciate that.
So this is Cowboy Kitty's sister-in-law, who's trying to get back home to her family.
Yeah.
So please, if you can donate anything to this cause as well, please do.
Yeah.
And if you can't, just put out some positive energy in the universe.
Yeah, hopefully that.
And spread the word. Spread the word to somebody who can.
Something.
Oh, next immigration court date is November 7th. So that's coming up soon.
Let us know how that goes. And good luck.
I mean, I'm glad she has a date. You know what I mean? Like that's progress. Oh, sending energy now. Wonderful. Okay, so any other announcements? We're still staying at Thursday at 5. We're still staying Thursday at 5. We love you too, Cowboy Kitty. We are a family in this independent media space because how else are we going to get the information that we need to feed our intellect and to be able to communicate effectively with other people and try to bring, I don't know if I say try to bring them to our side. I guess I do try to bring people to my side, but I mean, at least just give them another perspective, and hopefully the more of us that get here, it's like a ripple in a pond.
Yeah. Well, I can be a little more on the libertarian spectrum there, where I'm not really wanting to. I want people to agree with me and to be in solidarity with, like, believe the same things as me. But I'm not really big on trying to push people and to change and to. I'm not trying to like be a big recruiter. Like,
right, exactly.
I guess I just like let people choose their own choices in a way. I'm a little too libertarian like that.
I just want to give the opinion, and hopefully it resonates with them and makes them think and gives them an aha moment. And then, on to the next. Like Rondo said, building understanding.
Yeah. I would maybe also classify that more of like an anarchist kind of mentality where it's based in voluntarism. I think if we really want a revolution to be sustainable and successful, you need to have it be done voluntarily by masses of people. And the thing is that people are trying to, that's too hard. We need to get we need a cheat code. So we're going to rely on coercion and manipulation and lies to do a good thing. We need to do some bad stuff, whatever. But that seems to be too opportunistic and short-term thinking. That's what I'm saying. So
no one's going to change their mind by you browbeating them. And everybody's not worth it either. You gotta assess the situation. Sometimes you're wasting your time, your energy, your emotional capacity on people who don't deserve it. So, Harriet Tubman, you can't take everybody.
No, gotta learn. Gotta learn to move on when someone has turned their back on you, and not basically try and simp after them like a fool. That's just the way it is.
I'm gonna put this back up real quick because Cowboy Kitty has some updates. So he's saying that they keep bouncing her between courts, both waiting for the other to make a decision. It's fucked up. Oh yeah, that's the way they.
This is where I'm saying
Yeah.
I have no faith
Well, like
in
you're
legal
supposed to be given a
recourse anymore.
speedy. Yeah, you're supposed to be given a speedy trial. If you hadn't watched the um uh Khalif Browder documentary on Netflix, it's worth the watch. It kind of shows you how they get around the whole giving you a speedy trial thing. Like they keep uh, postponing the trial over and over to try to beat you down and get you to take a plea instead of actually going to court, and they have to do their job and prove that you're guilty. So this is not the same thing,
Yeah.
but I mean it's the same kind of concept where they're just kicking the can down the road, um, and probably to milk money out of you. I mean, there's many reasons. They're making money the longer they keep her because it's a privatized holding,
Right.
and they're sifting money out of the family, um, and that's pretty much what they care about. She's been in custody for 3.5 months, no bail on a non-violent misdemeanor.
Yeah.
A misdemeanor is a ticket. A ticket.
Yeah.
Pay that shit and bounce. That's what a misdemeanor is. Ay, ay, ay.
And
All
how much
right.
does it cost to do all the deportation? But like that little bit of a fine from a ticket or whatever, like they're spending way more resources on getting rid of people that don't even need to be got rid of. That's like for what? For fascism. So I don't
Mhm.
really have enough faith in lawyers, and I feel like I hope you appreciate how we're still trying to support the GoFundMe for the legal funding, in spite of the cynicism about the system. Because the alternative is really, well, because the law doesn't work, whatever, people in these situations, let's just not even try and help them, whatever. That's no good. So we do what we can, and we be as honest about it as possible. And we hope that um, our honesty and our integrity um, rubs off on people, I guess.
Hmm. Okay, so we are headed out. I mean, shoot, I've had that cowboy kitty. That's not a reason to put her through all of this.
Yeah, at least she has a chance, right? So that's what we can do.
Yeah,
But what
DUI
we
do
what we
suck.
really want to
I
this
never
is
want to go
where
through that again.
this is where the organizing matters, right? Where we can be depressed and nihilistic about, oh, it's all just a stage. We're fucked. We're cooked. What are we gonna do? But that doesn't
Mhm.
help anything. What we need to do is acknowledge this is fucked. This is irreparable, unsalvageable nation. We need to We need a revolution. We need to fix things at the root. Okay. But
I
in the
mean,
meantime,
that's what they want you to do. Like, that's the whole reason they put people in slums and the projects and did with no repairs, no care, and with that comes depression, and with depression comes hostility. When hostility comes crime, and that's what
we understand
that's
the
the end
cycles.
game.
Yeah. We understand them academically quite well now at this point. It's just you have to believe
I know,
like the truth.
it's so obvious.
Yeah.
But
We have
anyway, we're just
yes. Let's implement them. That's all.
yes, we are just well, we're not rambling, but I am tired.
Yeah. Me
Tired.
too. Long day.
Oh, long day. We love y'all. And we hope to see I don't know, I might come on this weekend to do the Orwell thing. I just found it fascinating. I can't remember the book. but I remember the concept of the book. So I was like, should I read
You're
the
saying
book first
1984?
again?
I'm not sure what you meant by Orwell.
Oh, it's a,
You were saying you want to talk about the 1984.
yeah.
I don't know what
Oh,
you
you never
mean by
read that
talk
book?
about Orwell. I've heard of the book, or whatever. I just wasn't sure if that's what you wanted to talk about, or some other kind of Orwell.
No, I wanted to talk about how the things that are in the book are happening right now,
Right. Yeah.
like in fast pace,
Yeah.
like
Like
exponentially.
scarily, eerily similar. You
It's,
know, it's like it's a blueprint or something.
it's eerily, it's a, yeah. If you
Well,
just look up, the preface of the book and read that part, you're gonna be like, oh, now I know what she's talking about now.
I've heard a lot of people have been making that reference, the analogy, to the 1984. But I think
It was a very
I'm a little
influential book
ambivalent.
in America.
I'm not sure what to think so much about it because I learned that Orwell was something of he used to be a socialist, but he ended up turning more anti-communist in his later years, and now he's celebrated for this 1984 thing. So that background makes me a little bit curious and suspicious, but I haven't done the work to read up. I never actually read the book. I just heard a lot of people talk about it for years now. So I'd be happy to see that show if you wanted to do it. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm feeling like maybe I need to order this book and read it again and refresh my memory. So we'll see. Okay, well, we are about to be up out of here.
Yeah. Oh,
And
and I was just gonna
what is
say,
that?
I'm not sure what you're
I don't know
saying.
what all those. I don't know
I
what
don't
all
know what
those.
it's supposed to mean.
I can see.
But Cowboy Kitty's saying ProPilled might go live soon. See y'all there if so. Yes, that's go ahead. Shout out to ProPilled. I enjoy their content. That's Snow Himbo and Mad Crab. If you don't know who that is, they
See, I don't even know them.
they had a show on the Indie News Network. I'm not sure what happened there. I think they just parted ways amicably. They decided they wanted to do their own thing, and they're doing
There's
pretty
so
good.
so
They got
many
their show.
independent news places. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, Mad Crab's an American, from what I can tell, and Snow Himbo's a Canadian, so they're a little bit like us in that way.
Oh,
But they're a
well,
bit more
that should be
cool than we are.
interesting.
Yeah.
Okay,
So go ahead and
I'm gonna go
do a
look.
raid over there if you like. I will also talking about ProPilled. We're talking about Pakistan. They got a guest that comes on, a guest co-host. Always her name escapes me. Lotus, I think, is her nickname. But I'm curious to hear what she has to say about this topic that we just talked about today, considering she is of Pakistani and Indian heritage. So hopefully she's
And
got a good.
by the way, I mean I could tell you this later, but Political Matrix. I was watching them and I caught him at the end and he was like, "Oh yeah, we do. I need to get in contact with you." I don't have his info, but you do.
Yeah, I think we're friends on Facebook, so I can reach out.
I think maybe he wants to do another show with us. So
yeah, sounds good. I've been wanting to talk with him about religion a little bit because he's got this Hebrew Israelite thing. I don't understand that. I kind of want to learn a bit about that. But Yonina and I, we were having these religious debates.
you don't know the Hebrew Israelites? That's because
So
you're not American and
no.
you're not black.
Yeah, there's a funny story there probably, but I'd love to hear it. I'd like to.
Well,
discuss
it's not a funny story. It's just it's just they're prominent here in America.
I mean, funny and more like a unusual, like a weird story.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Because
no, they have a rooted history here. Rondo probably knows about. Well, no, because Rondo's Muslim.
It's just hard to talk about stuff like that without getting too like divisive, and I don't intend to burn my bridges like I've become good at. You know, I'm hoping to be able to have
You're
a
real good at
conversation
that.
like that without being an offensive asshole. But
You're real
whatever,
good at that.
got some work to got some personal work to do. So hold on to my
Aw,
butts. Sounds like it. Sounds like
I'm
fun.
sorry that happened to you, Cowboy Kitty. That kind of happened over here.
Yeah, that's one of the things we're
Some
kind of
way.
caught in the middle. Some of these podcasters, like the Political Matrix, seems to be in not so much on the side as Hardlands Media, and it's sad to see independent media doing some infighting on this stuff
Ah,
over what lawyers are fighting about. Isn't it fun? So
well,
anyway,
Mastermind and I think we're fine. So I
hopefully
think that message
Mastermind
is
can
for
go kick
you,
fucking
Michael.
ass. That guy can fuck right off. I don't give a shit about him no more. Okay.
Michael.
No, fuck you, Mastermind. Once again, fuck you, okay? Fucking big ass child. Anyway,
Michael.
he wants to go
Sometimes
gatekeep on people's channels. Have fun somewhere else, whatever. Go gatekeep Hardlands Media. Okay, I don't give a shit. That's not how we build a movement. That he never really he got called whatever, maybe whatever painted correctly by the RBN guys there, in the sense that he wasn't exactly a communist to begin with. I'm not sure he really would call himself one. So I don't really think we could have actually worked together at the end of the day. So just proves itself at the end. You know, it kind of all comes out in the wash. So
Well,
goodbye.
I didn't hear your conversation, but sounds like it got heated when y'all could have really just you
We
could
didn't
have
even
really
really get
just
to have a conversation. He just decided to be a little prick about it. Now I don't even have the ability to talk to him unless I want to go make shit, stir up shit on Shonda's channel there. Shout out to Shonda. Go donate to her too. So because they have a channel with all the wrenches where you could talk to people. You can't ban people because everyone has a wrench. And that's what we were going to do. But we couldn't do that because somebody had to intervene before we gave someone a wrench and make sure that they had to be timed out or whatever. So whatever. Okay. This is YouTube's structure. They make it so that
no,
it's
I feel like you could have just set a boundary and just been matter of fact about it without the fuck you.
yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, I guess everyone else is Americans in particular are very prone to being like that. They're the first ones to be all like, well, fuck you then, right? But it's the hypocrisy. I guess the Canadian's not allowed to be so much free speech like an American or whatever. That's for you guys, right? So whatever.
Well, I wasn't like that with him. I just set a boundary. That's all.
Anyway, we don't need to. We could probably wrap up here. No need to say anymore. Whatever
Yep.
has needed to or not needed to be said has been said anyway. So
He's still welcome to come over here, as far as I'm concerned.
sure, but I don't like what he's done is he's excluded me from every conversation that he's having with everyone else. So you guys can go ahead and have fun interacting with him, but I don't get to see what's
Oh,
what
because
he's
he blocked you.
yeah.
Oh, he
So
blocked
go
you.
yeah, but whatever. I'm not gonna ask for an unblock. I don't give a shit.
My brother
Yeah,
said, 2 tears in a bucket, mother bucket.
exactly.
The Django. All right. Well, anyway, we're belaboring the point. All right. Yes.
Well, have a
feel
good
your
night,
feelings.
everyone. Thanks for
And
tuning in.
We'll see you next time, or at the other channel, or
Yeah, have a good night.
whatever. Bye bye.
Peace.
You were supposed to be ready. See that? See that bad outro?
We're not ready at all. I forgot we're supposed to have.
Here we go. All right, let's try it again. Have a good night, everyone. Damn it.